Most companies just measure things like attendance, completion rates, or satisfaction. While that is nice, it really doesn't tie it back to a business outcome or a business economic and a profit center in the organization. It gives you a high level and not so effective overview of what's working, what's not working.
Hello and welcome to today's episode of Pivot to Profit. I'm here with the amazing Katja Kempe, who is a skilled business strategist coach working on human capital. Amazing to have you here. Can't wait to talk to you. How are you today?
Pam, I'm so good. Good to see you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Let me formally introduce you. So Katja is the founder and CEO of Viveka, a human capital technology platform that helps organizations measure the business impact of coaching, leadership development, mentoring, and workforce performance. A former global strategy manager and COO for leading international law firms, she launched Viveka after seeing companies invest heavily in people development without clear ways to track the results. Been there, done that. Today, Viveka connects talent initiatives directly to business outcomes through technology, analytics, and a global coaching network. Katja is a best-selling author, internationally recognized speaker, and award winner of the Female Entrepreneur of the Year in the Asia Pacific, and a Yahoo Finance Top 21 founder, changing the way we do business. Amazing. I can't wait to dive all into this. Diving into your story and your history was super fun, so I can't wait to share all of that. So before we start, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Oh my God, Pam, that's such a good question. I think I was in between a hairstylist and having my own retreat center. And I'm sure there was a fighter pilot there as well at some point. So many things.
I love it.
Yeah.
So what was little Katja taught about money?
So I came from a beautiful household, actually, and my father was an entrepreneur, my grandfather as well. I think there was a strong focus on value and seeing not only the price tag, but also, what are we going to use this for? How is this effective in our lives? And do you really need it? Do you really want it? So there was an emphasis on value.
Okay, got you. And so you grew up in Germany and Australia. So tell us about your early career, because you've got your MBA, you've worked in Germany, you worked in Australia, and now you're in the US. So tell us about that evolution.
Pam, you make me sound like such an overachiever. I love it. I'm going to be here every day. So yes, that's absolutely true, which explains the accent and the name, German name, Australian accent. Early career was in marketing strategy. Then I stumbled into consulting, being a true strategist for some larger organizations, and then ended up in the strategy of the legal industry, which taught me so much excellence and execution and how well-run businesses are really organized and structured and operated.
Yep, love it, love it. I've seen your resume. It's impressive. So tell me about the start of Viveka. When you launched it, what was that like? What were you trying to solve? What were you trying to achieve?
Great question. I've always had a passion for human potential and development. And early on in my 20s, out of personal reasons, I coached and was coached a little bit and fell in love with it. It was one of those, got my first taste of transformation and wanted to have more, invested my weekends coaching and being coached. Of course, there was a lot of fun still involved, but I got so many insights out of it. It was my passion. Then my career took me down the strategy arm, I should say, of operations in organizations. And for the longest time, I didn't know how to connect the two. And then in my mid-30s, I ventured out to become an entrepreneur. At the time, it wasn't that popular, I gotta say. So it was kind of unknown territory. And then I realized, if I get to create what I want to create, then I want to create have a strategy for organizations in how they invest in their people and how that can be profitable for them and how it can move the needle for them through data, through measurement, through these, not so sexy controlling numbers that are very sexy to you, Pam, and I find them very sexy. But that was then the vision of Viveka, and that's how it was born. Let's make human development effective and have fun with it.
Okay, I love it. The passion is very clear. So let's talk about an early win with Viveka. Like, tell me about a day where you woke up and you're like, this is going to work, and there was a big financial win.
I'm probably going to share a not so popular story. For us, it was a huge win to actually take a step back.
Okay.
And create the foundation. So we were, steady, growing, and then we realized the way the platform is, we need to rebuild it. So that was a huge strategic, one could say unfavorable short-term decision that was for the long term. And that was a huge win.
Okay, I love it. So your platform helps organizations truly measure the effect of all the money that they're pouring into their team through coaching, mentoring. How does that work? Because, I have coaches, I have developed, spent money on my team and coaching and mentoring for them. Like, how do you quantify that? That's amazing.
Yeah, thank you, Pam. And it is one of those gray zones, those areas where most people say, most companies just measure things like attendance, completion rates, or satisfaction. While that is nice, it really doesn't tie it back to a business outcome or a business economic and a profit center in the organization. It gives you a high level and not so effective overview of what's working, what's not working. For example, focusing on completion rates doesn't really tell you anything. You should be focusing on, does it make an impact in the organization? Is the learning actually applied? Or are people just sitting in front of a PowerPoint clicking through something that they're not actually retaining? Or attendance rates, that is great, but again, it doesn't measure their effectiveness. Where we believe the attention needs to additionally focus on is productivity, sales performance, for example, retention, legal costs. How does it change the legal costs in your organization? Time to profitability, absenteeism, retention rates, turnover. Those are the numbers that we focus on. And how do we do that? We plug into the ERP, CRM, and LMS of the organization to get an overlay of their actual numbers, and then we overlay it with the coaching cohorts.
That is a lot of data. So how does money come into that? Because obviously you're sitting across from a CFO, and we do money.
Yep.
So how does money overlay with that?
Well, just to give you some numbers, Pam, because I know you love your numbers. So effective learning and development and training in an organization increases profitability on average at 18%.
Wow.
I'll give you another number. Effective learning and development and training executing an organization increases productivity at 23%. And managers in larger organizations, Pam, so often managers are the bottleneck for engagement. What do I mean with that? If you're going to work and you don't like your boss, well, that's going to have an impact on your performance, maybe even your sick days, and potentially the legal costs that are involved if you should not be retained as an employee, right? So training your managers in an organization can change your overall employee engagement on average at 28%. And this is not just Viveka saying this. This is Gallup, this is McKinsey, this is Deloitte. The thought leaders in workforce development are also quoting the same numbers.
I love it. I love the numbers and the data. The numbers don't lie. That's the thing, is people put emotion to money, but numbers tell the truth. The data is the data. So what types of companies are you working with?
Great question. So we're industry agnostic, and there are some industries that we're focused more on just because they already have an incumbent learning development in place, and they want to test it against an organization that might just see how. Let's pilot this against what's working, what's not working, and try it out. So some of those industries are professional services, meaning accounting, legal, finance, consulting, then construction. Pam, it might surprise you, but there's a lot of workforce development and training in construction, pharma, and healthcare. Those are the top industries.
Okay. And what size companies come to you for this help? Because we see clients, high six figures all the way to multi seven figures in our scope of services that we provide. Who are you targeting that's raised their hand and say, I need help from Viveka to understand what's working and what's not working with all these expenditures?
Great question. Our absolute sweet spot is companies 200 employees plus. The reason being is the platform really allows you to give an overview. There is already the ad hoc operations in companies that have 20 employees. So it's useful for smaller organizations by all means. And the real result is when you can have a platform that integrates all your data in one spot that is larger, and where we have land and expand opportunities. We prove profitability in one department, and then the sales department can say to marketing, hey, why don't you try out Viveka, and so on. So those are our favorite clients. Yeah.
Okay, I love it. So in your experience of helping clients on the platform, what mistakes are you seeing over and over again, or challenges that businesses are struggling with?
The biggest thing that we're seeing that they're struggling with is that they're focusing on the wrong numbers. They're focusing on completion rates, like I just said before, or they just have a system in place that is not being utilized. The most expensive system or training is that training that isn't being used, or isn't being completed, or isn't being implemented. And so they're focusing on the wrong numbers, and they assume it's misleading. It's misleading to the organization. They're spending millions and sometimes millions, depending on the size of the organization, and they don't have an overview of what's actually increasing ROI. And they're looking at learning and training as a cost center rather than a business center that can actually lead to profitability.
So once you identify those systems that the teams aren't using that's costing them money, then what? What are you doing to help them make that change?
So that's a case to case, because every story will tell, or every combination of numbers and data will tell a different story, or give you a different picture of the health of your organization. And that can be, for example, I'll give you 3 examples. Who are the most favorite coaches or trainers in the organization? Well, that can tell us, what do we do with the others, or how do we increase their likability, or what training can we give them, or should we get more coaches like Pamela into the organization? Another thing is, if courses aren't being completed, and if we are not seeing that the participation rates are dropping off, we can look into the training themselves, the setup, the program setup, the curricula that's being executed. Do we have to change the mediums? For example, that could be from one-on-one to group, or if it's just a SCORM file. There's so many ways that are more detail-oriented right now, Pam, that I won't bore you with. But the data will give you the story and will allow you to optimize based on that story. And then it's month-to-month optimization. So constant improvements, measurements, just like you do in marketing. I mean, marketing and sales is the best example in an organization of how analytical execution is really perfected. So we're applying those principles, like split testing, or we're applying that to learning and development, because why not?
I love it. And so, Katja, you're the owner of Viveka. So what metrics are you tracking within your organization to ensure that you're meeting your benchmarks and getting closer to your goals?
Great question. So I guess all the large KPIs, what we're currently focusing on is funnel optimization, for example. And that changes from season to season, right? If we're having a new launch, then a funnel optimization might be something that we're more focused on, because now we're, really going into the granular, top of funnel is working, medium. Now, how do we increase the nurturing after we've closed people, for example? Why is the drop-off rate showing this? Looking at heat maps, where is there a bottleneck? How is our traffic being, really handheld through the funnel? And then, of course, acquisition costs, selling to HR, those numbers and timelines because sales cycles are longer and HR is not always our buyer. It can be the CEO themselves or the CFO or the CTO because they're saying we don't have a way to track these things, But obviously measuring the sales effectiveness through the sales cycles, through, again, the pipeline, and then internally, we're measuring engagement, satisfaction. We have our own surveys and yeah.
Okay, so what about from a financial perspective? What financial metrics are you tracking? Because I find entrepreneurs in different industries find different numbers are more important. So is it net profit, gross profit margin? Like, what are the numbers that you are looking at to make sure that your business is on track?
Yeah, great question. We have a combination in our business model between SaaS licensing and commissions. So what we're really focusing on is, of course, the recurring revenue in the organization. So ARR, MRR, and then also how we can increase the gross profit margins through the commissions. That's where we could have the most flexibility because we get the enterprise contract. We then source the coaches to be deployed in the organizations, of course, with the organization's approval, but that's where we then have a lot of margin flexibility within those contracts.
Okay, I love it. So what is on the horizon for you and Viveka? What is the plan? What's coming up?
I'm really excited about AI. I guess everybody is. For us, it's such a way to improve the human execution of coaching. So we're not trying to supplement AI or coaching or human coaching with AI coaching. A lot of organizations are doing that. Where I get really excited is how can we optimize the human interactions with the data, with the AI. So for example, Pam, if you and I had a coaching engagement, you're the coach, the system would tell you, Katja has mentioned the word success 5 times in this organization, just as word recognition, or her eye movements have been focused, or she has visited 5 different tabs during your coaching call. And or Pam, you've tried to describe the profitability of coaching in an organization to Katja, and you've used this model. Here are 3 other models that you could be using, so Katja could apply this better to her organization. So just real prompts to help the coach and also the coachee understand the engagement and then also be more effective.
Awesome. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. Where can our audience connect with you?
You can reach us at viveka.world. That's our website. Follow any of the prompts, get in touch with us. You can contact me personally at katja@viveka.world.
I love it. Thank you so much for having this conversation. You're so right. So many businesses spend a lot of money building their team and they just don't know how to measure it. So I love that you have a solution for that, because we spend tens of thousands of dollars on our team and development, and it's hard to quantify, and you've created a platform for that. So that's so amazing. Thank you for seeing a need in the marketplace and bringing value. So thank you very much, Katja.
Thank you, Pam.
Absolutely. That's all for today's episode of Pivot to Profit. If you need help understanding your business numbers, increasing your profitability, and increasing your wealth, just go to pamjordan.com. And remember, it's not what you make that matters, it's what you keep.